Aunt Maria was an elderly Sardinian lady who lived in Villa Sidro and talked to the plants every day. She knew every herb, every flower, and had a tea for every ailment. She always said that strength and courage are found in nature. You just need to know where to look. And Aunt Maria began her journey right here, among these olive trees, which are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And today, like her, we will go in search of the plants found in this wonderful environment. But above all, we will search. For the plant of courage, let's go. Our search begins right here, among these incredible olive branches that even rest on the ground. And I already see a very particular plant that you surely have seen. It's the plantain. It's this plant with lance-shaped leaves. You see, extremely green. It looks like a plant that has no value at all. Yet this plant is not only edible and was used for what was known as the shepherd's salad, eaten raw along with other herbs, or for the field soup, which is what we will make today. But the most incredible use of this plant was this. Here it was crushed, and you can still do it, the plant between the fingers, and placed over wounds just like a natural bandage over wounds, over blisters. And this managed to relieve the pain and improve healing. Now we will gather a little bit for our field soup. Obviously the younger plants are the tastiest to eat, to use in the soup. We will make a soup with many flavors, using different plants, retracing a bit of the history of our grandparents, our great-grandparents. Indeed. Here we go. A few plants will be enough, and then we'll wash them. Let's continue our walk. I have gathered a small bunch of plantain. See how I place it? The knife? This is one of my traits. Why? This way I don't forget it, and above all, I don't hurt myself. Now I want to continue here to look for the simplest of herbs. Chicory. Let's see if we can find it. Here. It's full of a plant that we all know, but unfortunately is almost no longer used. Nettle, a terribly stinging plant. If you touch it, it leaves a mark and a really annoying itch, but we can use it in many ways. It can be eaten. You can make decoctions. It's also very useful in the garden. But now that I've bent down, I've found it. This little plant is a bit ugly, but the chicory is right here. You see, chicory is the plant that has fed generations of people who have experienced hunger, war, because it's a plant that grows everywhere, especially along paths. And this one has grown right on this path. But plants are not like porcini mushrooms, where there's one, there are others. In fact, a little further ahead, there are some plants, prettier and more pleasant, like this one, which we are now picking. You can easily recognize it by the serrated shape of the leaf, and especially by this reddish vein. Chicory, contrary to what is believed, is not rich in iron, but it helps to assimilate it. It is rich in vitamin A, C, and vitamin K, and also some vitamin A from the B group. In any case, it is very good for the intestines. It can also be eaten raw, but it is very bitter. It's bitter, I prefer, let's say, to cook it in a soup, but this is a plant that is very beneficial and has grown with our generations. Here there are also smaller ones. You see where one grows, many grow. You see, the root of chicory, with this, our grandparents, during the Second World War, they made coffee with it. How did they do it? They would cut the root. And this would be dried. Once the root was dried, it was roasted in a pan or in an oven. At that time, maybe they didn't have an oven. So, in a pan, netoyo, and then it was ground, and made into an infusion that was a sort of coffee, mainly for the color. In reality, it doesn't contain caffeine, but, it also has excellent digestive properties. Look at this chicory, how much bigger it is. Now we keep the leaves, which are very good. It started raining heavily. I'll take shelter here. In the mountains, it can happen. Anyway, while I'm here, I'll show you another very particular plant. I don't know if you know it. The navel of Venus. This plant, especially here in Sardinia, has always been associated with water because it is a plant that grows where there is particular humidity. It doesn't have any culinary purposes. However, women used it on hot days, placing it on their foreheads to cool down, or it is used as a natural bandage, somewhat like plantain. It was raining so hard that we took shelter here. This is an old church, and over there were the stables. We were right there, inside that small cell. But now let's continue our exploration looking for a herb rich in properties. Anyway, guys, I was wrong because this is actually not an olive tree. It remained a wild olive. Now, the wild olive is the wild plant that, if grafted, obviously becomes an olive tree. This happened because probably in Sardinia they didn't arrive thousands of years ago. Those peoples who were already cultivating olive trees, like the Greeks and the Romans. It remained like this, and then of course it was no longer grafted. I know this because when I lived in Puglia, a land that had been conquered and inhabited by the Greeks and the Romans, in a field a farmer stood in front of a huge olive tree. He said to me, "Touch here, do you see this? This is the graft done by the Greeks." Guys, I swear I was moved at the thought that thousands of years earlier, a man had taken a small plant like this, grafted it, and now it had become a gigantic olive tree. You see, there is still some chicory here. Let's just pick another little piece because it might be useful. I saw an important plant, a plant with thousands and thousands of uses, the dandelion, the famous lion's tooth. I don't know if you're familiar with the famous puffball that is that plant, let's call it that, which you blow on. And the seeds fly everywhere. Well, it's nothing other than the dandelion. Why is it called lion's tooth? Because the leaves have a shape that resembles indeed the teeth of a lion. The plant is exactly this one here. A plant that is used for everything. It is eaten with the flower, you can make infusions, decoctions, and also with the dandelion you make the famous poor man's coffee. Essentially, you see, in the center. This yellow bud will then become, in a few weeks, that beautiful yellow flower that we all know. And after the flower, there is the famous dandelion puff. So those seeds that are carried everywhere by the wind make it a very widespread and very robust plant. Here in Sardinia, before picking it, there was a saying, and now we say it. I don't pick you because you're beautiful, but because you're useful. I promise that nothing will go to waste. And this is somewhat the sentiment towards the earth. Now we just pick the leaves that are more tender and add them to our soup. I don't pick many because, to tell you the truth, it makes me a bit sad. Think about nature. How rich it is. We are used to going to the supermarket, finding everything packed and packaged, but here all you need is a basket, and look at this wonder. Then there's a plant, which here is incredibly large. Now I'll show it to you, I don't know it, but look what I found. Field mushroom. Let's see if it's good. The smell of anise. This is also edible, but actually just one doesn't make much sense to take. Then unfortunately, it's a bit old as a mushroom. More would be needed. This is what we know as champignon. Actually, it's wild. See? It has exactly this color. The field mushroom is good. It has the smell of anise, but don't pick mushrooms after watching this video. You need to know them. We found it exceptionally. This dandelion plant has flowers with some little insects inside and also seeds. This poor thing has already fallen. Shall we make a wish? Here's another exceptional plant for our soup. This is the macaron. I've already shown it to you in the asparagus video, and it's nothing more than a wild celery. That's how we can call it. Imagine that it was already cultivated in Roman times. Unfortunately, this tradition was lost, and now it is only found at the edges of roads or in these wooded areas. However, it is excellent, with an exceptional aroma, very similar to parsley. So imagine, of this plant, everything is edible. The stem, a bit like cardoons, is used, and this too, let's say, when cooked, is excellent. The leaves are perfect for our soup, and with the flowers, with the seeds of the flowers, they were essentially used to flavor meats and also soups. It has a delightful aroma. I really like this plant a lot. We gather some and put it in our soup. Let's continue our adventure. Now, the beauty of Sardinia is that we can really find almost all the plants in this season. I finally found it coming. Here it is. This is exactly the macaron plant. When you also see the flowers, these small yellow flowers. And from the seeds, this spice was obtained to flavor the meat. Look how beautiful it is. The plant becomes much taller. It basically looks like a more rustic celery. Then, over the years, we have selected different plants, and it's a shame that we have forgotten the ancient plants. But do you know why? Because our body is made to digest these. Everything is happening within a few meters, frames. But why is nature rich in plants that we have unfortunately forgotten? Now I'll show you another one. This is the sow thistle. The leaves of this plant are eaten both in salads and in soups. You see in the basket I have collected what looks like a little bell. This is chives. It really tastes like onion and can be found everywhere. Now let's see if we can find a little sprig of it. Here it is. Here. You see the bulb of this plant is a small onion, and the smell is exactly that. You can eat all of this. You can even put it in an omelette, in a soup. It's exceptional. Now we'll just pick a couple of plants and put them in our soup. You see, this is a field of chives, and there are so many of them. And this is a plant that I really like. It reminds me of my childhood. I used to pick it in my grandparents' garden. It almost seemed a small victory every time I picked it. I'll take a couple of these because I like them a lot. Unfortunately, someone who came here for an aperitif left their glass. We'll take it to the trash bin ourselves. Here, there is an incredible piece. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I remind you to do so. Activate notifications so you don't miss small documentaries like these. Anyway, I want to remind you of something. If you don't know the plants, take it slow. Try to learn one species at a time. Go out, slowly, you'll do it. See who knows it. They need to touch it with their hand and then observe it. And then, you will have learned a small thing, one step at a time, because with plants you can get hurt a lot if you don't know them. In these more covered areas with trees, it's more difficult to find the wild herbs that interest us. Above all, I can't see the plant of courage and it's almost getting dark. I don't know if we'll be able to find it. We need to hurry. Have you ever noticed this kind of white slime, which many call snail slime? In reality, this is produced by the nymph of a small insect. Similar to a bug, it is the frog hopper. Indeed, that creates, let's say, this cocoon, let's call it that, of foam, which indeed looks like saliva, inside which it hides from predators and especially uses it to avoid dehydration caused perhaps by radiation. It is found precisely on the stem of plants, and inside there should be the nymph, a very small green insect. Let's see if it's there. Here it is. Anyway, don't worry, this foam is completely harmless. Once you have washed or cooked the plants, you will not be in any danger. Let me show you instead a terrible predator. Look at this spider. I'm walking because I still haven't found what I was looking for, but maybe we are almost there. This is the mallow, a very common plant. It looks like a mix between a vine leaf and that of a geranium, and it is a plant that has a truly characteristic inflorescence. It has always been used in the past as a soothing plant for stomach burns, also as a calming agent, and it is also eaten. Let's pick a few leaves. Consider that mallow was used to treat almost all intestinal problems. Also as a calming agent, it was used, and as a soothing remedy. Even laundresses would put it in the water to, let's say, treat their hands that had worked and were chapped. And then there's borage, with these blue star-shaped flowers, the plant of courage. We found it, the flowers of courage, even the tradition. It was believed that warriors, before going to war, would put it under their helmet because it instilled courage. Now we'll gather some and make it ourselves. The herbal tea. And now that we have found all the plants we needed, let's go to an incredible place to make the famous tea of calm and courage. We have arrived, guys, at a truly incredible place. Here, there are other plants I could talk about, like wild chard and thistle. But there's one that would be missing from our soup today, which is this one, wild fennel. This plant has a scent that really drives me crazy. Once in poorer countries, it was used to flavor everything from bread to soups to infusions. And among the various herbs, we collected wild fennel that was used to make a soup, specifically the soup of the 3 Cs, which was made with dandelion, chicory, and wild fennel, or rather, the root of wild fennel. And this soup was specifically used to soothe the intestines. This part of the root was taken and used to make the soup of the 3 Cs. We gather everything because tonight I'm really going to make myself a wonderful soup. But now let's go prepare the herbal tea. Can you imagine how much Sardinia has changed? Years ago, this river was much larger 20 years ago, and there were even trout. Now it has become a stream. In summer, it almost completely dries up and feeds the lake that was created with the dam. And it is right here that today we will prepare our herbal tea. This water is very clean. It even feeds a spring higher up from which all the villagers get their water. This is a small stove. Gasoline powered, imagine that. I got it in the United States. It's also sold on Amazon. And I must say it has saved my life on countless occasions. Because it always works, there's no need for gas, it's not very dangerous, and you can refill it anywhere. Here we go, the water is boiling. Now, before adding the herbs, I turn it off. Let's wait a bit for the temperature to drop. Otherwise, a temperature that's too high could ruin our infusion. The perfect temperature is not 100 degrees, but around 90 degrees. Actually, today we took a slightly longer walk, but I assure you that in 1 square meter you can find many plants. And many of them are actually edible. However, look, there are some truly fantastic landscapes here in Sardinia. And now we can finally add the flowers and leaves we have collected. The fragrance is already noticeable. You see, these journeys, these moments of gathering are somewhat part of human history, of our instinct. Things have a completely different value, a bit like the little prince when he finds the spring. In my opinion, the journey, the gathering, the discovery is what makes even something as simple as an infusion taste better, which amplifies the aromas and makes us feel a bit better. I believe that each of us should rediscover this connection with nature that we are unfortunately losing more and more. You see, nature tells us everything. It has taught us so many things today that we are unfortunately forgetting. We are used to entering a shopping mall, finding everything already nice, packed in its plastic packaging. Here everything is free. All this greenery will even disappear in a few months. No one will have gathered it, and the seasons will follow, changing the face of nature another 5 or 6 times. We know very little. We have truly forgotten everything. I hope with these videos to help you rediscover what is the essence of humanity. Here there are no phones, no houses, no cars. It's just us with the scents, the colors, the shapes that we need to start knowing again. By now, we have degrees in 100,000 things, yet we know nothing about our world. Then this is something a bit sad. Ready, huh? And today we have rediscovered together an ancient herbal tea, the tea of calm and courage. But perhaps because in life things should always be faced with serenity and calm, but also with a pinch of courage. Always give it a try and you'll see that something beautiful will happen.